compare fractions, which is bigger? First comparison, 1/3 and 1/4. So in comparison, we always want to look for whether they have the same numerator or whether they have the same denominator. In this case, the numerator is the same. So if you have something, two identical things, you divide this one into 3 portions, or you divide this one into 4 portions. So you can easily see that if the total is the same, you divide them into 3 pieces, that each piece is going to be bigger than the piece you divide the total by 4. So therefore, 1/3 is bigger than 1/4. And the next one is 3/5 and 4/7. So this one is more complicated because their denominator or numerator, both are different. So we can, in this case, we'll try to make the denominator the same. So how do we do this? So if we want to make the denominator the same for 5 and 7, the common, last time we talked about this, least common multiples. So what is the least number that can be divided by both 5 and 7? So both 5 and 7 are prime numbers. So the product of the two can be divided by both numbers. So the product is 5 multiplied 7, which is 35. So now we have to change both fractions. So 3/5, how do we change this one to 35? So we multiply this by 7. So we have to multiply 7 to the top and the bottom. Remember that. So you have 35, the top numerator is 21. So we change the second fraction into the same form. 7 has to multiply 5 to give you 35, right? So the top we multiply 5 as well. So now it's 35, numerator is 20. So now you can see that with the same base, with the same denominator, the numerator is bigger, the fraction will be bigger, right? So take 21 out of 35 or 20 out of 35. Of course, 21 is going to be bigger. Number 9, calculate and make sure the result is in simplest format. So this is basically doing what we have just talked about right here. So fraction addition can sometimes be really easy if you have the denominator the same, right? Then you just say, you add them up. For example, if you have 1/3 plus 1/3, denominator is the same, and you basically add up the numerator. So that's very easy. But when the denominator is not the same, you have to find out what's the least common multiples of the two numbers, so that you can add them together with the same base, with the same denominator. So 3 and 4, the common denominator is going to be 12, the multiplication of the two. So we change the first one into this form. We change the second fraction in a similar format. The first fraction, you multiply numerator, denominator both by 4. The second fraction is multiply 3 to numerator and denominator. So this one is going to be 12, 4, and 12 of 3. So now you have the same denominator. You just simply add up the numerator. Okay? And the rest of format, we're going to do, most of them are very similar. We're going to pick out this one and this one as an example. So 1/3 plus 1 5/24. So this is improper fraction. This is basically plus 1 plus 5/24. Let's leave this one out first. Or we can keep it in there. It doesn't really matter. So adding these two fractions together, you can see that denominator is not the same. So we cannot simply add them up. But 24 and 3 is a factor of 24. So if we change all the denominator into 24, and we can add them up, right? So in this case, we have to multiply 8 to both numerator and denominator in order to be able to add with the second fraction. So 3 multiply 8 to the top and bottom. We can change the 1 into fraction 2 just to make it easier. So you have 24 of 24. So that's a 1. That's a unity. And the second fraction is 5/24. So now we have all fractions in the same base. 24, the first fraction has 8, second fraction has 24, the third fraction has a 5. So the total is 8 plus 24 plus 5, 37. Okay, so 37 is 24 plus 13. Therefore, 24 plus 24, that's 1. The remainder fractions is 13/24. So improper fraction form of 24. Subtraction. You have to follow the same rules. And again, you got to change the denominator to the same numbers for both fractions. In this case, you change the plus sign into a minus sign. And since you have the same denominator, you basically 4 subtract 3 instead of plus 3. So your total is going to be 4 minus 3 is 1/12 for this number. So subtraction is very similar to addition. The methodology that we have introduced here can be used for these problems. I hope the students can practice on their own.